Guess what, my friends? Budgets are for dummies. That's right, I said it. And I'm not talking about the Cliff Note version of some book that I'm going to teach you how to do budgeting. I think budgets are for dummies. I said it. Everybody out there, if you're broke, if you don't have any money, if you can't save money, the first thing everybody says is,
You've got to learn how to budget. You got to write everything down and have a budget.
man, I say budgets are BS. I'm going to break it down for you in this video. So if you're trying to figure out how to save money and you don't like budgeting, this is for you. So let's talk about why budgets are BS. Just in case you're new to the channel, real quick, this is the Retirement Mentality channel. This is a place where I want to change your mentality about retirement. I want to change the way you think about money, the way you think about saving, budgeting, investing, getting to early retirement, FIRE movement, all those things. We talk about them here. So you're in the right place if those are topics that are interesting to you. So let's break down budgets. What is a budget? A budget is like a dream. A budget is like a business plan. Like, I also say business plans are BS. I was trying to get a loan to start a boat company, and the banker said, you need to write a business plan. I was like, you know, a business plan is just my idea of how great this business is going to do, and it has no effect on how successful the business will actually do. It's just something that bankers want to make them feel good before they give me money. He's like, yeah, I'm a banker. I get it. I need you to write a business plan. I was just like, oh, so stupid. Budgets are the same thing. Budgets are what you dream about spending. They're not about what you're actually going to spend.
You can write down, I'm going to spend $50 on food, and I'm going to spend $30 on entertainment, and I'm going to spend $500 on rent and $30 on gas.
And blah, 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 blah.
But the fact is, your rent's $650. You actually spend $350 on food. You really spend $250 on gas. You get to the end of the month and you're like, shit, man, my budget said I was supposed to have $450 left over and I ain't got jack. That's because you wrote down the idea of how much you want to spend and not how much you actually spent. So, my genius idea that no one else says to do, let's reverse engineer a budget. I should have thought of a catchy name for it before I did this video, but I didn't. But instead, now my brain wants to think of a good name. I might have to come back and edit one in. But anyway, let's just continue with this. Instead of creating the dream list of what you want to spend, do this. Take the time, buy a book like this book right here. This is where I have my notes for this video. It's leather bound, it's cute, it's fancy. Carry this bad boy around with you and write down everything that you spend. I call this my idea book. But maybe it could be your reverse engineer budget book. That's really not a good name, the reverse engineer budget. I'm going to have to work on this. But I care if you youngsters out there, probably you're the ones that need this advice more than anybody. You could probably do it in your phone. There's probably something you can do in your phone. There's actually some apps you can use for this, and I'll link to a couple of them in the description. It's not really what this video is about, but it might help some people. I just want you to not write down your dream of what you want to spend. Write down what you actually spend, and then we can look at where we can cut some of the fat off of there and get your spending down. But just dreaming about spending less doesn't get you to spend less. It gets you frustrated that you spent an hour writing in here about what your dream budget is instead of figuring out how much you actually spend. So I know a lot of you out there are like, damn, Jeff, have you been listening to my phone messages and tracking my Google machine? This is exactly what I said. I tried a budget already. How did you know this? I know it because I've lived it. I tried it. I've been broke. I've tried to budget. I'm not a budget person, a business plan person. I don't write my goals down. I don't put pictures of Ferraris on the wall and say, if I look at a picture of a Ferrari every day for 5 years, I'll eventually have a Ferrari. I don't believe in that shit. I believe in looking at how much you spend, seeing where you spend too much, and figuring out where you can cut the fat off of there. And then I'm never going to have a Ferrari. That's just not in my wish list. But we're not to Ferraris yet. We're to figuring out how much you spend and then making that number less. Make it less. Less than you earn money, and then you spend less than that, and then this will all work out. Okay, so stick with me because I'm also going to tell you how rich people budget in a little bit. So if you want to hear the budgets that rich people use, I'm going to give you that in a minute. But you're not there yet. You're still working on trying to just figure out how to save more money. So I'm going to give you a couple tips on how my reverse engineered budget works. what you need to do after you spend at least 1 month writing down in your handy dandy book like this, all of your little expenses. I spent this much on gas. And write everything down. I bought a coffee. I bought a Mountain Dew. Don't buy Mountain Dews and coffee. Don't do that. That's stupid. They're wasting money. I bought a sandwich. I bought cigarettes. Don't do that either. Come on, guys. I bought a 12-pack of beer. Okay, get the good one. Whatever you're buying, write it all down in here. And then you can, after you've got a month, at least 1 month of data all written down or saved in your phone or put into a spreadsheet, depending on how clever and organized you are, separate it out into categories. Just put utilities, living expenses like rent. Like living expenses could be your rent and your utilities. Transportation could be your car, your gas, your bus pass. Figure out your monthly of what your car insurance costs, add that in. Things you pay on a yearly thing. If you have subscriptions, bust out 1/12 of that and put them in these spaces too. You got gym memberships, you got food delivery services, whatever it is you pay for a post office box, whatever you've got. Don't try to think of all the things that you buy yearly, put those in there, bust them out into categories. You're going to have living expenses, food, transportation. Maybe you have a business or a side hustle that has expenses. You could put those into categories and you're going to end up with a leftover category, which you're going to call entertainment or something else. You could also call it stupid shit I don't have to pay for. And that's the first place you're going to start cutting, is in the stupid shit I don't have to pay for category. And then you could go to some of the other categories. You could say, okay, how can I reduce my food costs? How can I reduce my power bill? Can I unplug everything? Whatever you got to do, figure out how to reduce everything. And after you've done this for a couple months, you're going to get to a point where you can't reduce anything anymore. And this is the point where now you go make more money. But one thing that people tell you to do is reduce costs and make money at the same time, so that you're doing this deal. But the problem is then you're half focused on this and you're half focused on that. If you need to pay off debt, focus on paying off debt. If you need to reduce your spending, focus on reducing your spending. Knock those two things out before you come over here and start trying to figure out how to make more money and get a side hustle and everything else. Like you can figure out your budget in a month or two and figure out how to cut all that spending. Then you can go over here and drive for Uber or get a side hustle or do whatever you got to do. But when you're doing 10 different things, trying to get your finances straightened out, you're not doing any of them well, and you need to focus like a laser and get one or two of these to get your spending down, get your debt paid off, start making more money. Like focus on one at a time. I don't care what order, really, it doesn't matter what order. Just focus on one at a time and get those laser focus dialed in. That's my advice on this subject. Okay, I told you I'd tell you how rich people, what budgets they use. Here's the secret budget that rich people use. They don't use budgets. They don't have to. They've got enough money. You don't need a budget when you have enough money. You only need a budget when you don't have enough money to get to the end of the month or to save money or to invest money. So once you get this figured out and you get to level 4, you don't need budgets anymore. You don't need reverse engineered budgets. You don't need any of that crap because you got more money, because you're spending way less than what you're making. So after we reduce spending and then we raise income, we get to a point where you have this big gap. That's called I'm rich, and you don't have to use budgets or reverse engineered budgets or any of this other crap anymore. But we got to get you there. So start tracking it, write it down, use an app. I'll put some links in the description down below of some budgeting apps if you really want to use a budget. It works for some people. I'm just not a detail-oriented person, so it's hard for me. But budgeting can work for some people. So I don't want to say nobody should budget. So I'll put some links down there. I did some research on like the 3 top companies. There's a free one. There's one that costs like $3 a month, and there's one that costs like $20 or $30 a month. And I don't think you should use the free one. I don't think you should use the expensive one. I think you should pay $3 or $4 a month, because nobody gives any value to anything that's free. That's why this channel hasn't blown up yet. I give you all this free, wonderful knowledge, and I'm just still struggling for views and subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, please bing, 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 hit that subscribe button down there. Give me a big thumbs up if you thought this was helpful. Maybe tell a friend. If you got a friend, you're like, man, my buddy Bill over here, he don't know where his money going either. Send it to him. Send it to Bill. He needs to know. I said, you gotta know where your money is. You can't understand why you don't have any money if you don't know where it's going. So figure out where your money's going. Subscribe to this channel. I'll give you more great content like this. As long as you're supporting me, I can keep making this for you. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.